round, when I shared with a lot of people, there were questions on why do we need to do sustainability reporting, and I think we need to solve that. Now we cannot say, sustainability very important, and then please do, please do, please do, but why? And we didn't say that, and that's not so good. So the I always start with this quote: the sustainability era will not be driven by regulation; it will be by people seeking transformation, and it's not just finance people, but basically the key item is that if we wait for regulation, you will be very far away, and I guarantee you'll be disadvantaged, both from a corporate perspective and from profit perspective. So to understand why do we need sustainability reporting, this is what I always show. So not so long ago, we look at the temperature, it was kind of cool, and recently it's kind of hot. And some people look at this and I really understand, but many people say, oh, who cares, right? So fine. Um, do you all know why we are doing a lot of sustainability and climate change actions? What is our goal? So if you look at Paris Agreement in COP 21, it's very clear that what we want to do is just 1.5 degree. That's all. Also, we want to hit 1.5 degree threshold, because after that it will be a chasm. Chasm means you cross it, you cannot come back. You can slowly, slowly move up. Once you finish moving that up, you cross it, it will move really fast down, and you cannot reverse it. So that's why we want to achieve 1.5 degrees Celsius. But anyone know what is 1.5 degrees Celsius? So due to time, I move a bit faster. So you can see from here, 1.5 degrees Celsius means 70% of all coral reef in the world will die. And if you know about coral reef, it means it's a keystone species. It regulates the whole ecosystem. It helps fishery. It helps many other biodiversity. All will depend on coral reef, and 70% of that will die. So if 70% of coral reef will die by just high level proportionate, 70% of all marine life will die. That means our grandchildren's children will never see 70% of whatever that we see today. You go to the supermarket, our grandchildren's children will never see whatever that we see in supermarket today, because 70% of that will be gone. So people say, why? Why is it that we are aiming for something that's so bad? That's because 2 degrees Celsius is 99%. Also, based on the report from many of them, I'll just pick one. So 2024 latest, end of 2024, it says that 2% is about 99% of all marine life will be gone. And that's why we are trying to achieve 70%. So 70% is bad, It's not so fun that our grandchildren's children will never see whatever that we have today, and it's because 70% will be gone. So where are we right now? So United Nations Secretary General's call for action around July 25th, 2024 says that we are going to 4%. Also, just like I was talking about, Dr. Vincent talked about 1.5 degrees Celsius, not so good, 2 degree is a disaster. We are going to 4. So that is like slightly more than disaster. So I actually quite a lot more than disaster if we don't do anything. Okay, so that is the reason why we are moving towards sustainability report, because every single company, every single individual need to know where is our emission, and we need to reduce that. So temperature very hot. I was presenting in the conference and someone say, oh, my country very cold, no problem. So fine. Yeah. And some people say hot means nothing. I am very used to being hot. So this is 2024. I can very clearly see some of the countries is at 51.5 degrees Celsius, and some place in US is 53.9 degrees Celsius. Brother, sister, 53.9 degrees Celsius, human cannot live. Not so fun. So we already have some places where human cannot live. And even if you increase a little bit, later on in sustainability report, I will tell you, but if you increase a little bit, it is not like, you don't go outside, it's fine. All your machinery will have lower life of expectancy. All your asset depreciation will be speed up. and the consequences. Okay, you become 1.5 degrees Celsius. So again, these are so some of you already know, but the issue is some of the audience still doesn't know why we need to do SR, and therefore I'm just explaining. The reason why we have 1.5 degrees Celsius and then we do SR is because we need to know how much is our carbon emission. And carbon emission means what? It means a list of gases, about 245 of them, but 7 of them are the main ones. Or 245 greenhouse gases, but 7 of them are the main ones. So whenever we say carbon footprint, carbon emission, they are not carbon. So they are 245 greenhouse gases. But 7 are the more familiar ones. So carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide, those are the main one. And of course, fluorinated gases after that. So how much of them in our atmosphere can see from here on the graph? So mainly still CO2, but methane, nitrous oxide are quite strong, and then fluorinated gases. Okay, so these are the reason. Everything human do has got carbon footprint, and to improve the environment, to reduce it to 1.5 degrees Celsius is to understand our carbon footprint and reduce it. So how do you understand carbon footprint? Basically, everything that you do, even you breathe, has got carbon footprint, and therefore you count from here. So transportation is a big one, household, clothing, a lot of things are really adding. Okay, so to reduce carbon footprint, you need to know. So the first step to solving any problem is to understand there's one. And to understand there's one, understand your own footprint, you have to do a SR. Okay, so to do an SR, how? So not so long ago, I created the course in Singapore, and because I was we were a little bit late, we are not the first course, but we were the first to discuss and I created the slide, co-created with Professor Hoyuki. But during that time, people asked me, Vincent, how is it possible that you in 2023 create a course? Isn't sustainability ESG around for the past like 30 years? It's true. But before 2023, there were 400 standards. So the slide is purposely made small because I want to show everything. But if you look at sustainability, environmental sustainability, there are at least 30 standards, or slightly more than 30 standards. So actually, there are almost 100 here, but 30 more important. So about 100 standards in sustainability. And if you combine all of them into 4 quadrants, there are 30 standards. So if you are doing an SR and there are like 100 standard, whatever you do, I can guarantee it's not easy. Not so long ago, it got consolidated into 4 major groups, and therefore it sounds a little bit better, but it's still not so easy. So investor group came out with their own, corporate group came out with their own, like my company, the Italian company is on CDSB and CDSR and CDP. So US company or SASB, Europe company or IFRS, ISSB. So thematic, so like special group, they create their own standard. Like general, they create their own standard. So like all the standards are correct, all standards are good, all standards are very useful, but which one do you follow? When you follow everything, you are not going to fail. So it's quite difficult, and therefore I have the chance in 2023 to create sustainability reporting course. I was the first. Okay, first 5 because some people were a bit faster in submitting. First 5 or first 3 in the whole Singapore university scene, and that is because I choose one. So why do I choose one? Is because I had the prediction in 2023 that everything will be grouped under the mother of all standard, which is ISSB. Now, this is not just mentioned by me. So Bloomberg in 2024 also say the same thing after I predicted correctly, that everything comes under ISSB. So ISSB is the first time IFRS came out with a sustainability board. IFRS stands for International Financial Reporting Standards. And if you understand the history of IFRS, it is kind of sponsored by IFAC. That means this standard will be jointly supported by US and Europe. Most standards are not. US have their own standard, Europe have their own standard. You use meter, right? Sorry, they use miles, right? So for this kilometer, they use miles, right? So it's always different, but this is having a good chance of combining both continents into one. And therefore, some people say, oh, Dr. Vincent, what you teach me, are you sure maybe it's already there for a long time. So by 2022, which means 2023, showing 2022 report, you have to end the year before you can prepare a report, right? So by 2023, 96% are on GRI. Just now I said ISSB, so it's not. SASB, 79%. Just now I say ISSB, so this is not. So by end of 2023, zero company is using ISSB. Not really zero, but like really small, maybe 1%. So really low. So ladies and gentlemen, those who are strong in understanding opportunity immediately can understand the impact of sustainability reporting, right? Because a lot of companies are on GRI, SASB, IR. Vincent say everything is ISSB, and if Vincent is correct, how much opportunity do you think there will be for consulting, for companies to need you, for companies to hire you as like director of SR? Huge amount. So some people tell me, oh, the business is very difficult to do. I understand. Low employment rate, I understand. High unemployment rate, that means companies retrenching. But that is because they are in industries that is slightly in low demand, right? So this one is a high demand or not, you can see by yourself. So I won't go through too much, but basically you can see from chart that today many companies are not on the mother of all standard, not on the standard that we are going to teach you today. And in Singapore, it's already mandated starting 2025, that means 2026. All listed company has to be in ISSB, period. 2 slides ago, Singapore is 100% on GRI, 0 on ISSB. Now, do you all understand the impact? This is the first time in the history. You miss this chance. The next time you have a chance, maybe 2030 or 2040, I don't know. But basically, this is a chance that is so interesting. All are on ISSB. Not many people are currently on ISSB. So you know that there's a scramble, there's a struggle coming really soon in our industry. That how many times do you have this? Okay, so overall, I will not go through too much, but it's not just Singapore, it's also Taiwan, it's also Malaysia. It's also, so Malaysia, I always share this, right? Some people in Malaysia told me, Dr. Vincent, you're wrong. Malaysia is on NSRF. So you look carefully here. NSRF is based on ISSB law. So of course there are many companies, there are many countries who like to use their own name, and then they use the name and then they say, Vincent, you're wrong. But you learn the fundamental, you learn the things that is like important, you can apply to those new names. So that is the main item. Okay, so the implementation of ISSB, the adoption tracker, which is like change every week, can very clearly see that we are moving towards more and more countries are adopting ISSB. Okay, so what is ISSB? ISSB is split into S1, S2. Basically, it was like done in 2023, but it started 2021. So in 2021, they came out with a lot of new items from the current standards. So they moved from the current standard into ISSB. And they received about 700 comment letter, and they improved the standard. So overall, it is a combination of IR, SASB, CDSB, and TCFD. So all these acronyms, you read yourself on the screen. So these are, if you're in this industry, you know it by heart, because these are like the God standards. So they combine all the super big standards or the God standards into one and call it ISSB. Okay, so what are the fundamentals? So the fundamental principles are comparability, verifiability, timeliness, and understandability. So always remember this is like an accounting standard. Now, previously, you look at SR of many companies, they are like a marketing report. It's like how good my company is. We did this, we did that. We donated money here, there, we planted trees here, there. Going forward is an accounting standard, and therefore it's comparability, verifiability, timeliness, and understandability. Don't talk to me so much. Don't give me so much picture. You want a picture, okay, but don't tell me all this thing. Give me one number. One number. So imagine a sustainability report. At the end of it, just one number. Tell me how much. And if you all have attended my previous classes, you know that carbon tax is definitely coming, and Singapore is already raising the carbon tax to 45, eventually to 80. How do you tax a company? If the sustainability report is full of pictures, you cannot answer, you need one number, and therefore it will be mandated. So you can kind of know what that is. So as I said, it's also enabling investors to compare. So if I want to invest 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I compare one number, I know which one to invest. So for pillars, this one important. Some companies like Singtel, they have like 10 pages for one pillar. Some report like the Golden Artery, they have like 15 pages for one of the item, one of the pillars. So you need to have 4 pillars. You miss out one of them, of your report is qualified, is failed. Also, the first pillar is governance. So ladies and gentlemen, very quickly, do you all know that if a financial report wrong, who in the board of directors responsible? So due to time, I won't ask you too much about it. Think a little bit about it. Sustainability report, we are trying to mirror it to financial report. In financial report, if it is wrong, who in board of director responsible? Some people say CFO. No lah, your CFO so powerful. Some CFO are not in the board. In the board, who? So you got to identify who is that. So usually in financial report, audit committee chairman is the first to be fully responsible because it's his job. In sustainability report, who? Don't know, man. So unless you have a sustainability committee, otherwise who? Don't know, man. So that's the problem. You have to write your governance very clearly. Who is responsible? So later on, if we have time, we can go through one report. Maybe not enough, not have time today, because today is introduction. So I just want to give you a full introduction, and 2 hours is already too small. I have only 45 minutes. But take a look at one report. Singtel can, HP is a good one. Just go to Google Hewlett Packard Sustainability Report 2024. 24 not out, 23. You will be able to see the way they wrote governance a lot. They even say how much salary is tied to sustainability for each of the board. Okay, so you need to state who are responsible. Number 2, strategy. Some people say, oh, Dr. Vincent, strategy so easy. I always write strategy. No. Do you have internal carbon price? Don't have. In my mind, that is not a good strategy law. So a lot of people talk superficial, right? Strategy. What is your internal carbon price? So the ability to make decisions based on some numbers is very crucial in sustainability report. You want to show your audience, show your readers that in your company you have a real strategy. What is real strategy? Real strategy means you make every decision, you know what is the subsequent consequence. And what's that consequence? Internal carbon price. So there is a price tied to carbon. Okay, next, there is also scenario planning. If you don't have scenario planning, you fail. So this one's not fun. This is a hard coded. So scenario planning means what? That means you need to have a P&L balance sheet based on either 1.5 degrees Celsius or 2 degrees Celsius. So today we are around 1.5 degrees Celsius. Also today we are around 1.4. So we keep to 1.5. Okay. Next, 2 degrees Celsius. So how do you do a scenario planning of 2 degrees Celsius? Estimate lah. So if you have a car, if you have a bunch of company fleet, the car is under a 2 degrees Celsius sun. is going to spoil faster. So if you have a 10-year depreciation, please think again. Is it really 10 years? I don't think so. So you have to reduce the depreciation of each of your company assets. So if you have aircon, so today 1.5 degrees Celsius, you on the aircon like maybe 80% of the time. 2 degrees Celsius, you have to on like a long time, man, and at full blast, man. So that is the reader's requirement and the standards requirement. We need you to put in scenario analysis. You just put it in. It can be wrong. No one can predict the future, no problem. You can be wrong, but you need to put in. You don't put in, you fail. You don't put in, you are being audited, you fail. Very simple. Don't need to talk so much. Just fail. But just put it in, right? So some people say, Dr. Vincent, I like to put 4 degrees Celsius. Your call, man. But 4 degrees Celsius, a lot of cost, so the balance sheet will look quite ugly. Or your call. So remember, strategy, you have to really put in. Without putting in, you just fail. Number 3, risk assessment. So those attending my class, you know that physical risk, transition risk, it's not just one risk. Oh, what is my risk? No, it's transition risk, physical risk, and then double materiality. These two must be inside. If you all don't really understand, I have a small chapter I can share more with you. Lastly, it is metrics and target. So this is where scope 1, 2, 3 comes in. So sometimes you hear people say, oh, scope 1, 2, 3. That is inside the 4 pillar. So on the 4 pillar, you are supposed to put in the actual scope 1, 2, 3 and the target of scope 1, 2, 3. Brother, sister, target of scope 1, 2, 3 means you have to actually have actual first, right? Otherwise, you set a target of what? Pluck from the sky. So that's why doing SR is so important. You have to start now and start with these 4 pillars. Or think together with your top management, think together with your clients. How do you start the 4th pillar? And if you don't know, Eco Sustainability Group will help you. We share profit, no problem. And usually it's not me, but it's a group of people who actually know. Okay, so just now I talked about CRRO, climate related change, risk and opportunity. So transition risk is here. Fiscal risk is here. Most people look at fiscal risk, and that's not good enough, right? So fiscal risk, you have a flood, acute. No, so simple. But you have to look at chronic. Chronic means what is the risk in the longer term? Transition risk means predict what is going to happen if the policy stops using of all plastic. What is your P&L? What's your balance sheet? Technology, if the transition risk as a technological change going forward, people stop you from using diesel. How much is your additional cost? How much is your P&L? What is your profit level? Market risk, if the market just hate non-sustainable company, and if you're a non-sustainable company, what's the risk? Okay, so you can read by yourself. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, but basically there are a lot more. Due to today, we have no time, but if you join our proper course, which Ryan will share with you a bit later, you join a proper course, each of them we will go through with you with real sustainability report done by the industry companies, and we'll teach you the best practice. Okay. Double materiality. So just now I kind of told you, right? So there are 3 circles. Always remember 3 circles, very simple. The first circle is financial current materiality, not financial materiality. Financial current materiality. This is what is already should be in the financial report, in your annual report. So if you're a listed company, it must be already be inside, otherwise you go to jail. So it's already inside, confirm. Financial materiality is slightly bigger. That means out of whatever that you show in the current annual report, you need to show the extent of the company's materiality based due to climate. Also financial still, but climate. Annual report, you don't need to show. In fact, you cannot show. Annual report, you cannot just put in the cost inside. Then you manipulate the annual report. You cannot. But here you must. So this is the annual report. This is the annual reports plus climate. This is climate. Also annual report, financial materiality, but climate, environmental and social materiality. Also 3 levels. Again, due to time, I quick now, but if you attend our actual course, you will go through it. Okay, now dynamic materiality is exactly using my just some analogy to share with you the double materiality. So current, expanded, and then environment. So three level. So this is already inside financial account. Okay, understand? If don't know, just later on ask in the Q&A. Now this is quite crucial. You, this is already shown in annual. This and this are not shown in annual report. Okay, anyway, move faster. No time. So materiality metrics, I got no time now, but I think you can kind of see. So impact on social environment, impact on enterprise value. So you can see from here, you read by yourself, please. So it sounds complex, but it's basically just a materiality matrix. With these two, you choose the one that is okay. Next is this one. So likelihood of occurrence and magnitude of effect. So when we talk about forecast, scenario planning, all these are probability, right? So probability, you can say, oh, small one. I want to say that one cannot. There's a standard process. So you have to rank 1 to 10. Usually I use 1 to 10. Some people more. Some people 1 to 5. 1 to 10 likelihood of occurrence and magnitude of effect. Again, 1 to 10. And sometimes you can get valuable to help. You can get experts like us to help you. And we rank for you. Something goes wrong, our fault. That kind of thing. So the ability to rank, after ranking, then you do the one that is over there. So okay. Is it too difficult? So one example I can see from here. So this is a company, real company. I think it's called Takeda or something. Real company. This is what they do, and then they show it in their sustainability report. You have to show your readers, and you have to balance between sharing too much company secret and the one. So you start doing, you know what I'm talking about, and you don't know, some of the consultants can help you. Okay, so overall, S1, S2, they are designed to be applied together, and they are the 4 pillars. You have got to really do the 4 pillars, and after the 4 pillars, the 4th pillar are the carbon accounting. So up to here, it's all sustainability reporting. There's no carbon accounting. Okay, so with not much time left, I very quickly go through. How do you quickly do the SR? So boundary is always the step that I recommend. Very, very strong. A boundary is actually like determining everything that you have. So organizational boundary, which company do you consolidate into your SR? Ladies and gentlemen, those who are sharp can immediately sense, right? So organizational boundary is based on 3 things. The first is operational control. If you have strong operational control, you take everything. Everything is yours. You have strong financial control, everything is yours. You have equity share approach, not everything is yours, depending on share. Those who are sharp, you can tell, right? So I can manipulate. So some tao care came to me and say, Dr. Vincent, I can manipulate. How about this? I group all the polluting companies into one, and then I own by another company, and then that company I own slightly lesser share. So all the polluting, I only get a share. But those who are super good one, I make it into here. Maybe I own not so much share, but I have strong control. I give them money. The answer is yes, you can. Then it's not so ethical, right? So some people say, Dr. Vincent, this is not ethical. Sorry, rule-based. Rule-based means, yeah, sorry, you follow the rule. Can. Although I don't recommend, I discourage it, but yes, you can. So there are so many things you can actually strategize for your clients, for your bosses, and also, but if you come to me, then we talk in detail. But basically, these are the things. If you understand the rule, you can follow the rule or can manipulate the rule, but you can be safe and you can be successful, can be effective. Okay, next is operational boundary, physical boundary, no time to go through, but basically, third is scope boundary. So scope 1, 2, and 3. And data collection, you got to collect data, both primary and secondary. Of course, primary is super good. I will not say primary is super good. You try doing that, you know what I'm talking about. So sometimes has to be secondary data. So scope 1, 2, 3. So a lot of people talk about scope 1, 2, 3. Scope 1 is basically burn. Always remember just one word. Scope 1, burn. Whatever that you burn, put it inside. So if you have a car, you burn, right? You burn petrol, burn diesel, even biodiesel, you also burn. Unless you have EV. EV can be zero, no problem. But EV, then your scope 2 will be high. So scope 2 means what? Purchase. So scope 2, purchase electricity. So whatever the Naga, whatever EMA, whatever Singapore Power thing that you pay, that is your scope 2. Scope 3, remember two words, upstream, downstream. That's all. That is scope 1, 2, 3. Very simple. Upstream, downstream means upstream, your supplier. So your supplier's emission to produce goods sent to you is all yours. 15 categories. Your customer, so downstream means your customer. Your customer, how they use your product until they throw it away, that is also yours. Upstream, downstream. That's why people always complain, upstream, downstream. How do I know? Because it's not mine. Valid. It's true. So very quickly, scope 1, burn. Or one word, settle. Don't know, we can ask, you can talk later. Scope 2, purchase electricity. So in Singapore, it's 0.412. It's changed not so long ago. In fact, it's changed like end of last year, just a few months ago. So in Singapore, it is 0.412. You take your power bill, multiply by this number, your scope 2 is done. That's why I always tell people, 5 minutes I can do scope 2. It's so simple. The difficult is scope 3. So what is scope 3? So Taiwan is 0.495. And if you're residing in other countries like Indonesia, it's 0.85. So very high, So Indonesia actually, because of the coal dependence, it's actually very high. So you need to know your country's emission factor. So 0.85 in Indonesia multiplied by your electricity bill. Malaysia, there are three places. So Peninsula is 0.758. Pretty high. But Sabah, super good. They have a lot of natural gas, so 0.425. Sarawak is the best model. To me, it's like the best model. 0.198. So in Sarawak, you have a lot of electricity. Your emission is very low. Not much problem. It doesn't move the needle. So if you have a company, high use of electricity, you look at the sustainability report, very good. Carbon tax very low. Why? Because in Sarawak, they use a lot of hydropower. Okay, Thailand 0.5. Vietnam 0.83, but it's getting better. 0.83, it's very high. Cambodia 0.445. So Cambodia is actually quite okay because they have a lot of the hydro dam and a bit of coal power, but a lot of hydro dam. Okay, so simple chart. So that's scope 2. Okay, scope 3 is basically a catch-all scope. It's basically 15 categories from upstream to downstream. So among the 15 categories, each of them emission. And when you know the emission, you put it in and say how you do it. But if you don't know emission, just be honest. Just say, I don't know. It is okay, man. In sustainability report, the most important is scope 1, 2, but most important is honesty. If you don't know, say you don't know, because most people say you don't know. Most people really don't know. So the key is 15 category. So some people attended the 14064 carbon accounting and they say, oh, it's only 6 categories. No. In ISSB, it's 15 category for scope 3. Scope 3 alone is 15 category. So follow the 15 category and then key in every single one of them. Each of them should have a number, but you can have many numbers and then come up with one number. And if you don't know, just say you don't know. You can have 0, 0, NA, and then you say you know though. But you got to explain. So if you don't put, it's okay, but you got to explain. Today, carbon tax is on scope 1, 2. So scope 1, 2 must be correct. So due to time, I cannot give you a practical example, but it's a very interesting example when we have time. But basically, in summary, IFRS represents a significant shift in the sustainability reporting. Last time, we all thought some pictures, some nice things, and chairman say a few words, plant some trees. No. Going forward, it's one number. Without that number, we don't know how good is the company, and therefore it's very crucial. And I add one more banner to all of you. Just now I say scope 1, 2, 3, right? Scope 4 is coming. And if you don't even understand scope 1, 2, 3, so simple. Okay, so scope 1, 2, so simple, but scope 3 a bit difficult. Then when it comes to scope 4, it will be even more difficult. Our company is at the forefront. We are always at the forefront. We are even trying to influence the policy and say, scope 4 don't come so fast and that kind of thing. But scope 4, once it's come out, there's a game changer. That means many companies, you can now do a negative emission. That means, so ladies and gentlemen, wherever we say carbon tax, right? So carbon tax a lot, and then you want to reduce, electricity, water waste. No matter how you reduce them, by definition of mathematics, it cannot be zero. So a lot of companies say, I'm net zero. I like to understand, right, what is the net zero? What certificate? The issue is that you need a negative to become zero. No matter how you reduce, it's still positive, right? So it can be low positive, but still positive. So how do you become zero? That's a negative, right? So the negative mechanism is potentially in scope 4. Okay, so I basically pause here. I know this is too much for all of you, but you see, this is an introduction. You know what you don't know, then you know where to know the other things that you don't know. And therefore, take a look at Ryan's subsequent webinar. It is so important to actually have this knowledge, and there's so much opportunity waiting for you if you have this knowledge. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vincent. Okay, so I will take over the screen here and so can you guys see my screen? Can you hear me?
Can.
Yeah. Kelvin, you're on.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kelvin. I'm Eco Sustainability Lead Verifier Consultant. I am also a farmer in Cambodia where I practice sustainable farming using biochar. It benefits the community, higher yield, higher productivity, lower pests, and good soil health. But I will not compromise the environment, the community for now and the future generation. So what's the takeaway for, next slide, please. So what's the takeaway for today's presentation? First, you gain the knowledge of sustainable farming using biochar and how do you apply in the soil and improve the soil health, reduce the emission, and also support the circular economy like reduce, reuse, and regenerative. Second, you learn how to calculate the carbon emission and reduction on the standard ISO 14064 principle that give you an insight when you audit a sustainable farm. Ryan, next slide, please. Yeah. Third, you explore with me the farm, the real application of the biochar on the soil. How does it improve the soil health? How does it restore the degraded land? And how does it suppress pests or even improve the water filtration system? And work towards the ESG goal as well as carbon credit. Fourth, deploy a strategy that with action plans, taking consider risk and the evidence base, work towards long-term goal, both economic and environment benefits. Thank you. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah. So what is biochar? Biochar is made from those biomass waste out there, like the coconut, the husk, a fallen leaf, broken branches, trimmed trees. No, we burn in our system. We have three systems. One is the double drum system, the kiln, and also the compit. We burn in a very high temperature between 500 to 700 degrees in a very low amount of oxygen. In the process they call pyrolysis, when they form very highly porous carbon in a very stable state for biochar, you bury it in the soil. The sequence there for hundreds, even thousands of years. So this biomass waste, instead of like you throw in the landfill or you burn in the air and damage the environment, you repurpose it into a value-added biochar, of which they are replenishable. But why they are replenishable, as a farmer, I know that we have to clean up the farm every on and off. For example, after the harvest, you need to trim the trees before the flowering start or before the heavy winds is coming. So you know it's replenishable. Next slide, please. So the biochar, when you bury them in the soil, they are like a big sponge, a lot of holes. They retain the nutrient, waters, and air inside the hole. And therefore, you have less nutrients to use and you have less waste dropping down. And these holes, a lot of holes are very good home for this beneficial microorganism where they break down the compounds, increase the cation exchange between the roots and the compounds, and release the nutrient up to the plant very quickly. And inside the soil, you have a lot of mixes. Sometimes there's impurity like heavy iron, heavy metals. Those ions, they're very bad for the trees, which means that it's food security. So you also reduce the nitrate oxides and maintain for release from the soil. This is very bad. Nitrate oxide is actually the nitrification and denitrification of bacteria but inside the soil, which they break down and release the nitrate to the plant, which is very good. But They also release a nitric oxide, which is 270 times of the carbon dioxide, which is very high, and methane is about 28 times. So methane is an anaerobic decomposition into the soil when they're a bit wet. So you can see biochar mass waste. You repurpose the biochar, which you bury in the soil, sequence that for hundreds of years. You reduce the gas from release like nitric oxide and the methane. You reduce the impurity, you reduce nutrient, reduce water. This is very good. This biochar we put in the soil. You can see on the right-hand side, we put about 5 kg of soil, biochar into the soil, about 5 kg on top. Total is about 10 kg. On average, it's about 4.2 kg of carbon dioxide equivalent per every kg of biochar you apply. So it's about 42 kg when you multiply by 10. So take note of this unit because this is a basis we do the calculation later. So you can see that in another slide, we have a pond. Later in the last slide, we have, not now, sorry, back to the slide. Later in the slide, we have a biochar from the pond, which they can reuse as a fertilizer. Here you can see on the top slide. So you see when you reduce, reduce nutrient, reduce water, reduce impurities, all these are very good for the environment. Next slide, please. So you can see the pond is a bit muddy. You can see we put 50 bags of 120 kg of biochar onto the pond. When it's about 6 tons we calculate total. So they actually filter out the water, remove the impurities. The fishes are, of course, much happier. They deposit their manure into the biochar, which they form fertilizer. Weeks later, we reuse as a fertilizer, which is shown in the just down the slide. They also can use as a mulch. The mulch, it's the same benefit, reduce the impurity, reduce nutrient water, everything. It also reduce the temperature, which is very good for the microorganisms to survive and multiples. They also protect the topsoil. When there's a heavy rain or spring, you sweep away the topsoil, we remove all the microorganisms as well. So it also suppress the weeds from growing, which means that there will be less pests. So it's a very environment-friendly way of improving the environment without taking harm to the environment. Next slide. So this is a restore of a degraded land. We have 1 hectare of land in the farm that is sandy, acidic. For 6 years, nothing was grown there. So now we grow agar wood plant 1 meter apart. We put 5 kg on the bottom and 5 kg on top. And you see, they are growing. So we have actually restored the soil, restored the ecosystem, and restored the environment. This is very good. So on the left side, you see there are highly densely grown agarwood trees with vanilla. They are very close together, about 1 to 2 meters apart. We supercharge it with biochar on the bottom soil and the top soil, that's what I mentioned just now. And it's growing. You can see it's very bushy on the right side. And on the left side where I'm standing is less bushy because there's no biochar on the left side. So definitely it's obvious that biochar does improve the yield of agarwood tree. So agarwood trees, when they are mature, they're about like 5 years old, they can sequence about 10 to 20 kg of carbon dioxide per tree. So we estimate it should be about 70 tons. Similarly, for the agarwood that we do on the planted, right, below the soil, above soil, for 5 kg, you calculate it's about 70 tons of carbon dioxide per year. So next slide, please. So share a bit, we also use renewable inputs, like solar panel, pump the water down 100 meters, and then we go through water irrigations timer, and we control and manage the water use. It's very important for us because there are hot season. During the hot season, almost everywhere is dry. It's a backup for us. And also, we are less dependent on the fossil fuel. Next slide, please. So on and off in our farm, it's very important. We keep doing a lot of testing, like soil tests, lab tests. We do experiment. For example, just now we mentioned about the soil we use, right? The sandy sand, and there are also normal soil. Why do we use only like 2 kg on the normal soil and 6 kg on a sandy soil? Because we do some testing and measure the pH, the moist level, the filtration level, so we know the soil is correct. So you have to do a lot of methodology. You have to quantify whatever you say with evidence-based. So even the biomass around the farm, within your farm, you can't cut the whole trees. You only can trim 20% of the tree. And this 20% of the tree, you only form 20% of the biochar that you produce. And it's about only 30 or 40 kg. So how many manpower you need, how many systems you need to plan. You need to take into the consideration of this thing. And also, if you do buy, you have not enough budget, you want to get credit from the open market, it's about $10 to $20 right now per ton of carbon dioxide. It could be $200 if I have seen it. So take note of this, get all the information you need for future planning. Next slide, please. So I'll share a bit about bamboo. Bamboo, very interesting. Bamboo is growing so fast. 3 to 5 years is already very big tall trees. And every day they grow about 5 to 10 cm. It's renewable. You can actually trim them and produce your biochar on a daily basis. This bamboo is growing around my fence, which is they're growing very fast, very tall, and therefore they block the wind, which protect my main crops. Next slide, please. So you have already explored my farm like a site visit. You see my farm, you see how I apply biochar and improve both the environment and the economic benefits. You also see how do I take into consideration all the risk factors. How do I do calculation of the carbon credit, the both emission and the reduction? So it's important now, do a strategic action plan. Look at the long term, what is the economic and environment benefits, and works towards a sustainable report. Get a sustainable report, set the baseline, and get it verified. So you can see my farmer, based on ISO 14064 principle, they like accurate, consistent, transparent, relevant, and conservative. They plot this map you see on the right hand side with a lot of trees. They itemize every tree, every emission, quantify them and calculate them, and know exactly what is the removal. For this case, about 5 tons. And also, don't forget about the emission. When you produce the biochar, you need to know the process. You need to break down the process of producing biochar. The emission, you also do the same thing. You quantify it and you calculate it. Right. So remember, get it verified. Next slide, please. So once you have plan, you have a plan. So remember the pond, there's only 50 bags. You actually can put 300 bags. In the agar wood, when we restore the land, we only have 300 plants. You can have 7,000. So once you plan, you get your project plan, you need to get it validated. Next slide. So let me summarize a bit is that first, very important that you have to design a farm with a strategic action plan. Take into consideration all the risks, all the evidence base they have, and work towards both environment and economic benefits. Then do your sustainable report, set the baseline, and get it verified. Once you get it verified, you plan your project, and remember to get it validated. Once you validated, you have to do it, carry out the measurement, record, monitoring, to make sure that you move towards the right direction, the right plan that you go against. And also work towards 14068, that's carbon neutrality, and apply and submit for the credit verification. Once you get the credit verified, you are issue a carbon credit for carbon dioxide. Then you can actually sell it to a company who want to purchase them to offset the emission. A company who also want to pre-sales, they want to book this, they can also do that so that we can look into this project. Next slide, please. So these are reference that I have that support my presentation. Thank you very much. My name is Kelvin.
Thank you so much, Kelvin. And I think like before we move into how to get started, I was just like want to frame it up a little bit here. Like I think that like by this time with the presentation of Dr. Vincent and Kelvin, you might wonder how do we connect the dots here, right? And I want to just make sure that if you think about it, what Kelvin's doing with the sustainable farming, this is actually the cool projects like that we call like as a consultant is like the cool project, the real impact that we are making that aspiring consultant can actually work on to say, okay, how do we apply what we learned from SLCA carbon accounting into the real world, create and calculate this we call carbon credits. And how does it benefit on the business side? Let's say you own a data centers, right, or even a smaller like SME company. How does this help you? It's like once you understand that, you could also become that with all your carbon emission, I was like, how do I offset it? Because maybe because of your business, the operations does not have that much offset. Then where you can either invest or purchase carbon credits from company like Kevin or like initiatives like Kevin that can purchase the offset to help you with your carbon emission, and that is why these two are related and become very important. So on one hand, we as a consulting firm, we help to do the calculations, right? And so that it creates the return environment like positive impact into carbon credits. Two, then we can bring it to the business side and the companies to do the offset. So that is how you can see the link between the two. I hope that gives some little bit more background. Okay. All right, Keegan, I will pass it to you.
All right, thank you, Ryan. Hi, everyone. Okay, so you've learned the theories on SR, sustainable reporting. You know what ISSB is, you know a little bit of history, you know the concepts in ISSB. So what Dr. Vincent shared just now is actually very, very basic. The real ISSB is very, very technical and complex. You also have learned ISO 14064, that is for the carbon footprint calculation. And then you've heard Kelvin explain to you how you can adopt projects to do reduction. So a simple reduction would be, just change your lights to LED, buy solar panels, but you can do a complex project as well, like what Kelvin mentioned. So today I'm going to share with you how to get started. If you don't mind telling me in the chat box, who has never done an SR before? You are doing your first SR, this is your baseline. Maybe you can just drop it in the chat. Okay, Ryan, next slide. Okay, first, ask yourself, why are you reporting? So if you are a company in Singapore, you are a listed company, so you are mandated by your government to do sustainable report. If you're a Malaysian company, 2 billion and above in terms of market cap, you are mandated. So different countries have different line where who is mandated, who is not mandated, but generally public listed companies, companies with huge market caps, they have to do it. But eventually there will be a broadening of the mandate. That means some people, a small, like think of it as pyramid, some companies on top they have to do, but eventually it will broaden out. But there is also another. So you say, okay, I'm not at the top of the pyramid, so do I have to do it? Yes, there is the alignment reason. That means you have to align yourself with the big companies. What I mean by this, let's say you are serving a big company, okay? They have to report to the government, but you have to report to those companies because your carbon emission is their carbon emission as well. Your scope 1 and scope 2 is their scope 3. Okay, so ask yourself, are you reporting because it's mandated by your country, or are you trying to align yourself with your customer? Are you doing it because your investor is demanding it? Do you know these days when if you're doing fundraising, the investors will not just look at your financial report, they'll look at your sustainability report as well. Are you doing this for taxation? Obviously, in taxation, like Dr. Vincent said, you need an actual number. So gone are the days when SRs are like, oh, my company went and plant trees, 1,000 trees, and then we take picture. No, that is a marketing document. Today's sustainability reporting is a financial document. Are you exporting to European countries? If you do that, almost certainly you need a sustainability report because European regulations are one of the tightest in the world. What are you trying to achieve? Of course, alignment regulation, that is the standard way, but what if your company is very forward thinking? You are thinking net zero. I want to be the first in my company, in my industry, in my country to achieve net zero. Guys, net zero is a really, really tough thing to do, okay? So you have to comply to ISO 14068 on carbon neutrality. But in order to do 14068, you need to do 14064, which is firstly to calculate first. Are you looking to borrow money from a bank? These days, almost certainly, most banks will ask for your sustainability report because when they lend you money, they need to know, they need some basic disclosure. If you want to serve, I have a friend, she does gifting, right? And she wants to be a vendor to a very large company in Malaysia. And she said she couldn't get in because she doesn't have a sustainability report. I know of one company in Malaysia who wanted to sponsor a Coldplay concert. Imagine they want to give money to Coldplay. They cannot do that because they don't have a sustainability report. So guys, the world is changing. You need an SR. You need to draw the baseline first. Okay, next slide. Okay, then you choose a reporting framework. Of course, ISSB. So globally, Dr. Vincent has made a very strong case. The global trend is towards ISSB. Malaysia is implementing ISSB this year in 2025. In Thailand, Thailand is going to start adopting ISSB. They are at the stakeholder engagement session. That means they're going around to associations, chambers of commerce, and companies to get feedback whether it is possible to implement. But it will be implemented. It is a trend that cannot be denied. ISSB will be the mother of all standards. So but you could also add optional if that particular reader is looking for optional things. So I'll give you an example. Unfortunately, in Malaysia, we are a leader in migrant abuse, not something that we are very proud of. So if you actually export products to Europe, you will be scrutinized on your human rights and how you treat migrants. They will check like, are the migrants in a livable condition? How many square meters from one bed to another? These reporting you need to actually put in your SR as well. So ask yourself who is reading it, and then make sure that you have all the relevant data in there. Okay, next slide. All right, so I haven't seen your answers, but I presume most of you have never done an SR before. That's why you're here at the introduction class. So to get started, Dr. Vincent just now shared the theoretical part, but guys, I can guarantee you when you really do it, it's not easy, all right? You have 10,000 things to do. Okay, electricity bill, very easy. You just ask the inventory guy or the finance guy, give you the bill. But in terms of scope 1 and especially scope 3 is very, very complex. When you buy a laptop from your vendor, what is the carbon footprint of that laptop? Do you know? You have to ask that guy, right? You have to ask a supplier, or you can maybe refer it to IPCC or some of the global database. To do this is really, really complex. I mean, everything you buy a cup, you buy a chair, you have to report it. You sell to a client, you have to report it. So what you can do is firstly, you list down all these things that you're going to be reporting, set the scope first, and then you do, okay, so for example, waste management. Do you produce waste? Do you weigh your waste? Do you say what kind of waste you produce? If you're a plantation, you obviously have plantation waste. If you are an engineering, you have some kind of engineering waste as well. All this needs to be very well documented. So if you ask me, the nightmare is firstly data collection. If this is your first time doing it, this is going to be your biggest headache. Guys, if you, and take this opportunity to set up systems for data collection. How do you do it? Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so just now Dr. Vincent shared a materiality matrix. I have a slightly different a picture, but the concept is the same, right? So you ask yourself, okay, let me give you an example. If you are a factory and you use a lot of gas, okay, you burn a lot of gas to produce energy to run your factory, okay, that is A. You also need to calculate your, let's say, employee commuting, okay? So your employees drive, right? Some take the bus, some ride motorbike. which one has a higher impact? Which one should you work on? What is the 20% that you work on that will give you 80% of the benefit of the results? So obviously the gas will produce higher carbon footprint, right? So you work on that first. Also align it to your stakeholder. So if your stakeholder is looking for, let's say let's say you want to work with Apple, okay? Or IKEA. IKEA is actually one of the world's most stringent procurement. They have one of the world's most stringent procurement process for obvious reason, right? Because IKEA makes furniture, they cut down a lot of trees, and therefore they need to make sure that their vendors have very, very small carbon footprint because they are a high emitter as well. So they want to work with a smaller company. Let's say you, okay? You want to work with IKEA, you want to get into their supply chain. So what are they looking for? They would, of course, be looking for your carbon footprint, your biodiversity protocols. So ask yourself if that's your reason, you focus a little bit more. But remember, form over substance, that means you have to report everything. It's just that which parts are you focusing on first in order to comply or to align? So compliance is to government, alignment is to your clients or your vendors. In fact, guys, you have heard of preferred vendor, right? Big companies, they have their preferred vendor. Have you heard of preferred customers before? Such a strange concept, right? Preferred customer means that I've got 10 customers, I choose who I serve. It's a real thing. Banks do that. When they lend money, if you've got 10 people wanting to borrow money, they will choose the first 2 or 3 to lend money to because you align, right? You've got your subsidiary disclosure, you've got verified report, your carbon footprint is small. Okay, so ask yourself, who you are sending this out to. Green marketing is actually another reason. If you notice, oh, maybe I'll talk about that later. Let's go to step 4. Okay, so you first need to gather data, and then you need to figure out the metrics that you are doing. So if you're doing scope 1, scope 2 first as a start, obviously you look at your energy use, the one that you burn yourself, and then you look at your electricity bill. Where do you get your data? Of course, if you want to know, let's say your aircon, you get a guy to pour gas in. How much gas did you use per year? You're gonna ask your operations guy, or you ask your finance guy, how many bottles of gas did you buy? You also get from third party. So for example, the supplier who supply you that product, and then of course from your partners as well. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so data collection, remember I told you that it is slightly complex, and how do you get very, very precise data? Remember, according to the principles of carbon accounting, one of the important principle is accuracy. So if I ask you guys, how much, what's your emission for your employee commuting? Okay, you've got 50 employees. Some people take the train, some people take the bus, some people drive their own car, some people live very far, some people live very near. How do you calculate this? It's actually not so easy, but there are several ways you can calculate. Let me give you an example of, let's say, electricity, okay? So if I ask you, if you use X amount of electricity, how much is the carbon emission? Okay, can you answer that? Depends. If you say, I don't know, so you're going to take a global data, let's say IPCC. Okay, there are references where you can take that number. So you calculate how much electricity you use times the carbon emission equals your carbon footprint. But you can also look for country level. So different countries have different emission factors. Like Dr. Vincent shared with you, Malaysia has 3 carbon emission, grid emission factors, Peninsula, Sabah, Sarawak. So you can use a national number, or you can look for company-specific record. In the case of electricity, no-brainer. You just check your electricity bill. Okay. But there is also tier 4. What is tier 4? So you put a smart meter. Then you can know precisely is your how much you use for aircon, how much you use for heating, how much you use for laptop. Different equipment, you know different amounts of electricity, therefore you know the different amounts of emission factor. So think of these 4 tiers as a way for you to put them into a box. What kind of data you can get? The goal is to move from 1 to 4. And if you use 1, you stick there, you use tier 1. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, then you draft the sustainability reporting. Have you ever seen a sustainability report before? If you have not, here's a quick tip. Go and read 5 really good ones and then learn how they write the report. If you don't know, if you need some recommendation, which 5 we will share with you. HP is one of them. The Singtel one is pretty good as well. So if you look at Singtel sustainability report, the governance part itself is very, very complex. It ties remuneration to performance. They've got different work streams, and this director gets his remuneration if he hits this KPI. It's very, very complex. Of course, if you're a smaller company, maybe you can just start with electing one sustainability officer. That could be one as well. So these are the few things that you put in. You've got so think of sustainability report. I always explain to my friends in a layman term. Sustainability report feels like a mix between an annual report because it talks about past performance and your future performance. It looks like a financial report as well because there are a lot of numbers, and obviously you need numbers in order to declare your tax. Okay, so you talk about the materiality, stakeholder priorities, you talk about the 4 pillars, remember, from ISSB. You can put in a little bit of your success story, explain a little bit more, because sometimes you need to explain concepts and what you have done. So quick tip, read 5 sustainability reports. You will learn a lot from real life reports. Okay, next one. Okay, review, validate, and publish. So most likely in your first year when you do your baseline, it is not possible. Maybe you don't know how to do it. So you hire a consultant to do it. Okay, let's say eco-sustainability. And then you send it to a third-party verifier. So a third party, so think of it like that verifier is basically checking your sustainability report, making sure that you comply. And if you don't comply, they'll give you a gap analysis. They'll tell you, hey guys, can you please work on item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Because then you need to narrow the gap in order to reach the standards. Okay. This is my favorite part. Okay, so we talk of SR as a technical thing to do. Yes, but many people also ask, so yeah, we do it because of regulations, compliance, etc. But we spend so much money, can we brag about it? Can we tell people how green we are? And if we do it, is it greenwashing? So, greenwashing is basically you claiming to be green while you're actually not green. Okay, it is actually in many countries, it's actually an offense. It's false advertising. So in Europe, if you claim something, and it's not true, there are activists, there are regulators who actually check on that. So a simple way for me to explain greenwashing is, it is greenwashing if you don't have an SR. It is greenwashing if you don't have a report that is validated. If you have a report that's validated, then you're in the safe zone. Then you can talk about it. Okay, so if anyone here recently booked an air ticket from, let's say, AirAsia, if you realize they will tell you the carbon footprint. So if you want to fly from, let's say, Bangkok to Tokyo, they will tell you the carbon footprint. Of course, that number may not be very precise. It can be a market-based number. But why do they tell you the carbon footprint? Because after they do the SR, they also want to educate the consumers about how sustainable they are. So they do what I call green marketing. But make sure you do green marketing after you have the compliance document. You sort out all your compliance document first, taxation, regulation, make sure you get all that done. Only then you do storytelling. Okay, next. Okay, here are some common mistakes, right? These common mistakes sound very generic, but it really happens because we see a lot of clients. It's a real common. I mean, we know it, but we still do it, and that's why sometimes you need a consultant to just whisper to you and say, please, don't make these mistakes. Okay, number one is vague goals and no strategy. Would you believe it? One of the biggest mistake. It may sound like a silly mistake, but it's a real mistake. A lot of companies do carbon reduction without the SR. Okay, you know what that means, right? So imagine I lose weight and I tell you, hey, I lost 5 kilo, but I didn't measure how heavy I was before this. So I tell you now lost 5 kilo. That doesn't count, yeah, because I didn't measure the baseline. And now, after losing 5 kilo, because I didn't measure the baseline, now I measure the baseline, and then now I have to lose another 5 kilo. People who've lost weight before, you know the first 5 kilo is easy. The next 5 kilo, not so easy. So don't change solar panel, do waste management, go for talks like, oh, 5 ways to reduce to make your office zero waste, 5 ways to blah blah blah. Don't do all this until you get your SR, because once you get your SR, then you know what you need to work on. In the SR, it's a number, and numbers don't lie. Numbers will tell you which parts to work on. You may think changing to solar panel is the best thing to do because this is a common sense thing. But look at the SR first. Make sure you are guided by the data. Okay, lack of transparency is another problem. Again, small companies who has all these resources to keep all these receipts. I'm being very practical here. When you really do it, I want to tell you these are the pitfalls. Where do you get the number? We have one of our clients. She flies everywhere to source her supplies. Now she has to figure out, oh, I flew to this country and that country. Now she has to really write it down, especially for small companies. Big companies have all these processes, but medium companies may not have this. Be honest about challenges. So if you know, Dr. Vincent said form over substance, right? So before ISSB, many people use other standards where they try to brag about things that they do very well. Okay, so if my company has very good diversity, okay, male-female ratio is very good. So I talk about it, right? But what if I don't? I'm an engineering company, male-dominated. So I don't talk about it. But right now, the trend is to declare everything, whether you're good or not good. Last, ignoring stakeholders. Talk to who you're reporting to, get them to tell you what their regulations are. Of course, you know their regulations, but the fine details are the ones that are very complex. So ask them. Know who if you're in Malaysia, know the Bursa requirements, your SEC requirements as well. Okay, next. Okay, very quick way to do it. So first you form a team, then you find a framework, you do a materiality assessment. Material assessment is the materiality matrix that I was talking about. Start collecting data, get your SR up. I want to give you a quick tip. If you have not done an SR, this is really the best time to do it, especially if you are not at the mandated group. That means you are the government don't mandate you, but you are a supplier. So you must do it. It's just that not a lot of people do it. And if you are one of the first in your industry to produce that SR, you will be very, very competitive. Globally, the trend is big companies are always looking for vendors who are aligned with them. Imagine you're a big company, all things being equal, price, competency, everything being equal, but your carbon footprint is so big. You are going to screw up their report. They have to pay tax because of you. So companies don't want to work with other companies who are not compliant, who are not aligned, right? Okay. And then start to think about carbon reduction already. Just now, Kevin explained to you the biochar, right? So there are many ways to reduce. One is, of course, you actually do your reduction. Let's say you are using electricity, you change to solar panel. That's a simple way. You can buy carbon credit to reduce. So let's say your carbon footprint is 100 ton CO2e. You buy 20 ton, so it reduces to 80 ton. By the way, you cannot buy to reduce tax, but you can buy to reduce in terms of just declaring it. But you can actually start adopting projects as well. If you're being very ambitious, talk to Calvin. You can actually adopt a carbon reduction project as well. For example, biochar would be one example. Next slide. Oh, okay, that's all. Hope the tips have been very helpful. Do talk to us if you want to get started. We have a lot of ideas to share to you.
Thank you, Keegan. Very, very cool. No, like what I found that's very super interesting is that Keegan actually brought out a lot of benefit of doing sustainability reporting. And this benefit is almost I call it like a virtuous cycle. Like it's like a win-win for all, right? And the key is like the sustainability reporting helps you to align, right, your company and your business, right, with the preferred vendors and your preferred customer, which is actually new to me. Preferred customer is so cool, right? So when that alignment happens, it already create the first cycle that I call it, right? And that's very beautiful. So if I am a company, even a small company, if I'm the strategy guy, I would definitely go research on what your vendors care about, right? And what are your customer cares about. And then that will be your key first things to look into when it comes to sustainability reporting. And I have like when I used to work for Amazon, I know that the procurement team, right, the Q&A like to select vendors, there is a big section about sustainability of it for obvious reason, right? And even this um 2 days ago when I was flying to Hong Kong, I run into a friend who is a partner at a private equity firm for Japan. And he was saying that in the past few years, every investors and their main investor, people from Japan, China, and North Asia, they all ask for request for ESG, like sustainability SL. So that is how like is rather is regulated or not, investor also are requesting for that. So it is getting more important and important. And I can hear it just even on a casual conversation nowadays. So definitely it's really got to think about it. I almost feels like that, as consultants here, we're almost like as a beginning of the journey, like a personal trainer. Keegan talked about like using the weight losing example, but it's really about the same, like really the same. Like we're like the personal trainer for your company, right? Really start setting the baseline, get your first health report ready, and then and then strategize how you lose weight, and in this case, carbon offset and carbon emission. So I find that like all this is not only people first. I know that some people, the first instinct is like, oh, there's so much time and it costs money. Why would I do that if it's not required? But if you actually think a level deeper, when you start to align with everyone and people that are asking for it, rather is vendors, customer, investors, right? And also marketing, right? And that if you say you want to be a sustainable sustainability as your slogan is part of your slogan or part of your values, like of your company. If you're not, you don't have the data, you can't really do that. So all this, like if we rethink to the second level of this ESG and sustainability, it start to sink in, realize that this is actually something that I must do for my company so that it can sustainable. And that's why it's not only sustainable for the earth, sustainable for your revenues, right? For your company and the longevity of your company. So that's kind of like my reflection, like for the past hour and a half. But now what I'm gonna do is to, oops, have everyone use your cell phone, your mobile phone, and scan this QR code, and we will do a knowledge check. Surprise! So it's a pop quiz. So I'll give you guys a minute to scan this. Okay. Then what I would do, I stop sharing screen for 1 minute. So let me bring up the pop quiz here. Oops, hold on 1 sec. It restarted. Some of you might already see the first answer. That's the giveaway answer. All right, hold on. Coming in. I guess that's right. Can you guys see?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, I guess we got 10 answer already. If anyone haven't see it, you can also join at menti.com using this code in case you missed the QR code. And perfect. So everyone answered it correctly. Awesome. So this is how it's gonna go for the next few questions. So let's go. Second question. What are the 4 pillars of disclosure in ISSB? All right, a couple more people. Very good. I think there's a few more people to answer. Very good. I think that's all of the above is right. I think back to our school day, if we don't know which one, select all of the above, isn't it? Very good. Good job, everyone. All right, so this is kind of how it goes. So we will keep going. Next one. Next question. Okay. If you own a boba shop and you use electricity to cook the boba under IS 046, which emission scope does this fall under? All right. Few more people. Wow, we almost half and half. You guys want to know the answer? The answer is scope 2. And here's why. So we talk about using electricity, right? So if you remember, both Dr. Vincent and Keegan remind us that what is scope 1? Scope 1 is burn. So things that actually that like our air conditioning, right? Our generator, and those are the emission that come from that actual machines, right? Scope 2 is what? Purchase or buy. So that's this. So that is electricity bills. So electricity bills actually fall under scope 2 because you buy the electricity, you don't generate it yourself. Right? And scope 3 is, if you remember, upstream and downstream, right? So I think there we call it kind of like a freebies for easy to use for you to remember. Scope 1 is burn, scope 2 is buy, and scope 3 is beyond. So anything upstream and downstream. So all right. Next question. If you own a restaurant and import salmon from Norway, which one is that? Dun, dun, dun. All right, so let's see. What's the answer here? The right answer is scope 3. Yeah, so why is that? So notice that there's a answer from scope 1 and scope 2. Scope 3, because remember we say beyond. So when you import salmon, who who is doing the catching the fish, processing the fish or shipping? It's not you. You just do the action of import, right? Your vendor, your exporter, actually doing the actions of the catching the fish and processing the fish. So that is fall under your upstream, downstream, right? Unless you don't import the salmon, but you actually farm, then you will be scope 1 or 2, depending on which part is, isn't it? All right. Next question. This one is a little tricky, and you probably have to pay attention about the boundaries here. Okay, should a tenant's electricity be included in the mall's emission report under operational boundaries? And see, people are thinking. Hmm. Quite diverse here, the answer. Can we see the answer here? It's actually no. And here is why. Because, and I think because also like Dr. Vincent just quickly gone through the different boundaries, operational, and we also have different like financial boundary, equity boundaries, etc. But under operational boundaries, one of the key things is who is responsible for operating in this situation, right? This the mall under the operations of the tenants um uh business. And the answer actually is no, right? Because each tenant manage and pay the bills for their electricity usage only, right? So it's not under the mall emissions in this case. and under these particular boundaries. Makes sense? Okay, next question. Which country has the highest per capita carbon emissions among major global economies? Whoa. All right, so let's see. Okay, ta-da! Answer is Australia. It's very interesting, but one thing, because this is we're talking about per capita, right? So it's not the total country. And so China most likely has the highest carbon emission as a country, right? But when it comes to per capita, it's slightly different, right? So in this case, actually, us the answer is Australia has the highest per capita carbon emission is between 16 to 17 metric ton per capita. And United States number two here is about 14 to 15 metric tons. China actually, to your surprise, is about half of the top two. China is only about 7 to 8 metric tons. And India, and all of us get that right. India is only like is 2 to 3. So you can see the difference in terms of these major global economies. Very good. Okay, so let's go to the next questions. We didn't actually talk about COP, so I will skip this. Okay. Which country is currently the largest producer of solar panels? Wow. First 100%, everyone got it right. Very cool. Yeah, so China is the highest producer of the solar panel. I think the market share is 65% or more. Good job, everyone. All right. Next question here. Biochar. Is this a true or false statement? Let's see if people let's pay attention to Kelvin. Few more people. All right. Very good. Everyone got it right. This is a true statement, right? And carbon chart, one of the biggest value through this process is to sequester carbon into the soil for a long time. So it's a very, very good project, that we work on. All right. So one last question I have for you guys. What are the biggest challenges your organization face in preparing the sustainability report, and how do you plan to overcome them? So I think we have just put 3 words. Don't know how to start. Hard to find data. Regulations. Yep. Any more? People cost. Customers don't care. Yeah, resources, budget, cost, time. Anyone else? And this is so true, right? Management support, less focus. US less focus. I assume that's US, not us. What else do we have here? Management directions, knowledge. Yes, yes. All right. Well, I think this is a very good reflection, here on this what in front of us. There's a lot of reason why we don't start sustainability reporting. It's the same thing. There's a lot of reason why we don't go to the gym or do our exercise or eat healthy. It's the exact same thing in sometimes, right? And I think I just want to wrap up with a thought where, you know, sustainability reporting is really not just a report, right? It's a it's a tool to hold ourselves being accountable, all right, for positive change for the earth, for yourself, right, and for your children, and all this that we can wait for people telling us what to do, or we can take that one small step to start, from ourselves, from our company to do that. And I think that is this tool to start that step is why we are here and why Eco Sustainability Group exists, is to help you with that. So with that, let me stop sharing for a second and we'll bring it back to our PowerPoint. Can you guys see?
So do we have time for Q&A?
Yes, we do. We do.
Yeah, so
So
everyone, please take a look. So this is not a fun thing. We are talking like, giving a lot of information and all, but it is always the action that counts. And I already say many, many times, these are real opportunity for all of you. So if you are working as an employee, you have huge opportunity to stay not just employed, but like huge amount of people will be waiting, queuing up to talk to you and hoping that you can join the company. If you're a consultant, again, there will be a scramble and struggle. I told you the timeline already. So if you don't know the timeline, okay, you can ask, but I kind of told you quite a few times already. Remember what is mandatory? When is the carbon tax? When is the carbon tax going to be much higher at $80? You know what's the difference? 2023 people say that, oh, got carbon tax also. I know, $5. Who cares about $5? Number two, since we started 2024, it is for industry in large listed company. And therefore, some people say I'm small. Who cares? No. So please look at regulation. It is called CPA. So it is Carbon Pricing Act 2018, enacted 2018, so it cannot be turned back. So you know the future, you know when it will be a struggle and scramble. During the struggle and scramble, those people who go to Big Four, they'll be in for a very interesting, huge, very unpleasant surprise to say that, oh, the Big Four are too busy. And therefore, that is the time where you go in and get the opportunity. So understand what you can do now, prepare yourself, do a few SR, you get the opportunity. Any question, please?
Yeah, so there's one
Ryan,
question.
reading the question.
Yeah, I am reading it. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah, so one question from Connie. How can SMEs with limited resources effectively implement sustainability reporting without it becoming a financial burden?
Fantastic question, Connie. So this is a very typical question, but it's so important. How about thinking it as a profit? So sister, I mean Connie, of course, sister. So sister, you have to understand the ability for SME to earn profit. So if you are a, let's say, agricultural company, so take the slightly extreme, so don't say that we are consulting. Agricultural company. A lot of the companies are already doing a lot of sustainability actions initiative and they are not getting a single cent from it. How about taking that as a profit? So SME limited resources, huge amount of profit on the table, you're not getting it. Are you okay? So think around that way. Don't think about financial burden, right? So number two, okay, I'm not agricultural. I'm not even sustainable. Fine. You will be taxed. So if you're not sustainable, you will be taxed. I'm not joking with you. And whether you're in Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand, these three countries will implement carbon tax. But when you export goods to European Union and US company, do you know that you have carbon tax too? If you don't know, I can, you attend our course, it will tell you. But I was speaking in India. India has got a lot of cobalt and iron and aluminum. Right? So when they ship their goods to UK, they incur $15. It changes every few days, but at that time it incur $15 of carbon tax, which is a lot of money, if you don't have sustainability assurance and certification. And suddenly the Indian company, they are all looking for me. But think of it not just as financial burden. If we are so limited in our thinking, you are not going to get the opportunity. But let's say if you can expand a little bit, if you are sustainable, you are putting goal in front of you and say, I got no time to take that goal, I'm too busy. If you are very unsustainable, think of it as a penalty coming to you, knowing that it's coming to you and you are not doing anything about it. It's like, oh, come hit me when the government is ready or when the customer's country is ready. No, you got to think of this as an opportunity. So help your clients, help your employer or help your bosses to find opportunity. If it is indeed that you are such a small company that you have no reason, no profit, no benefit to do sustainability reporting, fine, then delay it lah. So that fine, understand and delay it. But if you have choices to search for companies to serve, you have choices to move company to jump employment, and you are a consultant, you have choices to find companies to serve. Choose those that are having a lot of money on the table and not doing anything about it. You want to keep it that way? I mean, some people are stupid. I'm okay with that, right? But the issue is, okay, sorry, I am politically incorrect. Some people are taking a detour of their intelligence, and I'm okay with that, right? But the issue is, anyone wants to do that is very likely no. They are super smart people. They just don't know. Your job is to let them know. So long answer to your short question. Can I have more question
All
if
right.
you
Yeah, we have one more here. Is that as AI and automation advance, do you see a future where sustainability reporting become entirely machine driven?
Absolutely. Another fantastic question. So AI and automation is the perfect time to do sustainability report. Not so long ago, those who attended my class, we use a piece of paper, we use Excel, and then we go to EPA slide, we go to DFRA slide. There's only two in the world. So when I teach EFRA and EPA, and then we take that down and then we copy and then scroll like multiple tabs, multiple Excel spreadsheet, and then we calculate. Still can calculate, but takes so long. With AI now, it's a click of a button. You can calculate. That means this is the best time to do SR. Imagine those people who have been doing SR for the past like 3 years, 4 years. They must have charged the company 40,000, 30,000 US dollar for an SR. Now you come in with AI, you can charge a very low price. But of course, you need to know lah. So if you don't know, then don't talk lah. You really have to know what Keegan is teaching you, what Ryan is teaching you, what Kevin is teaching you. Need to know 14064, 14068, and you need to know the SR. So three things. I always say the same thing, but three things. The first is SR. You need to know ISSB, and there are certification from our company about how to do ISSB. Number two is accounting, carbon accounting. That's 14064, ISO 14064. You need to know how to do the accounting. But it is slightly different from SR. You just need to adapt. So after learning number two, you need to adapt. Number three is carbon neutrality, 14068. That means after you finish doing the SR, you know your emission, you reduce your emission so that you can reduce tax and everything. You want to be carbon neutral. Carbon neutral has a lot of benefit, man. I tell you, in your industry, very likely there are not many carbon neutral competitors. And just now I say let's say export your goods or services to certain countries that is strong in sustainability. They will want certification and assurance that are related to carbon neutrality. And therefore, 1, 2, 3. Learn the 1, 2, 3. Wow. With AI and automation, this is the best time that you can start in this industry. You miss this, no problem. The occasion will come. People will start. Make no mistake. You don't start, other people start. But more importantly, we are saving the environment. We are reducing human disaster. Our company started with one single mission, that is to reduce human disaster, and along the way we earn money. Along the way we let our consultants earn money. But the thing that you are doing is benefiting your grandchildren's children. So, like, why not? So, good question. Any other?
No, I
You
think
can
that's
just
it, and
unmute
it's
and ask
already
if you.
yeah. There's
I don't know
also
if you allow.
times. There's the time at noon
Really?
already. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Whatever Ryan says. Whatever Ryan says.
No worries. Like, thank you, Dr. Vincent, for all the answers, and thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Just 1 minute shout out here. We do have our next upcoming free webinar on March 15th. Same timing, Singapore time, 10 to noon. And this is on sustainable procurement, which is actually a very relatable for, I think, a lot of you joining. So please scan the code and pre-register this, right? And shout out also on training courses that we have. We mainly run a 1 or 2 days, 6 hour trainings, as well as a full certification of between around 40 hours of training on what like Dr. Vincent's just talked about. With the certification, usually we come with 3 type of certifications: participation, achievement, and excellence. And if you have more questions, feel free to email me at ryan.pun@ecosustainability.group, and I can share more information with you. With that, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for your Saturday morning. I hope you find that very, very useful, and give you something to think about over the weekend, how you want to move forward. What's the next step? What's your strategy that bring this win-win situation to your business, to your career? So thank you so much again, and thank you all the speakers as well. Really appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good one, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Right.